You have probably already seen the Domino story. Pizza was terrible, they admitted it, sales went up, inspiring. That is the version of the story that 1,000 YouTube channels have already told you, and if that is all you came for, you already have it. But that version of the story is missing three things that nobody has ever covered. It is missing the boardroom terror, the moment when everyone in that room genuinely believed this decision would end the company. It is missing the technology empire that Domino's secretly built while nobody was watching. And it is missing the psychology, the precise neurological reason why admitting failures makes humans trust you more. In December 2009, a CEO stood in front of the world and said something no executive had ever said before. He said, "Our pizza crust tastes like cardboard." He put that complaint on billboard in Times Square and aired it on a national television. The stock price collapsed to $2.83. That same stock now trades above $400, a 13,000% rise driven entirely by a decision that looked like professional blunder. Here is something the comeback story always skips over. Domino's was never actually a pizza company. Tom Monaghan started with a single-used pizza oven and $500 in Michigan in 1960. From his very first week, his fixation was never the recipe. It was the clock on the wall. He built Domino's around the single idea. Food is a commodity, but speed is a competitive weapon. In 1973, he introduced the 30 minutes or free guarantee and permanently changed how humans think about food delivery. Customers were not choosing Domino's because it tastes better, they were choosing it because it arrived. By 1983, Domino's had opened 1,000 locations, not because of the pizza, but because of the promise. In 1993, the guarantee was scrapped after delivery. Drivers caused serious road accidents, racing against the clock. Without the clock, Domino's had nothing left to compete except the actual pizza. Focus groups were then asked to evaluate the pizza honestly, and what they said was genuinely difficult to read. The crust was described as cardboard, the sauce as ketchup, the cheese as artificial. By 2008, the stock had fallen to $2.83, its lowest point in the company's existence. And into that wreckage walked Patrick Doyle, a CEO who would either save the company or become its final chapter. Patrick Doyle had been CEO for less than 12 months when he called the meeting that would define his career. He placed a stack of customer complaint letters on the table. He played recordings of real customers describing the pizza in language that made the room go silent. Then he asked the question that nobody in that industry had ever asked loud: do we defend this or do we demolish it? Every instinct in that room pointed towards defense, but Doyle chose demolition. His team spent 2 full years testing over 7,500 combinations of ingredients. They found a garlic butter crust seasoning that no mass market pizza chain had ever attempted. They replaced the sauce with wine refined tomatoes that tastes like something grown rather than manufactured. And then, against the advice of every communications consultant they employed, they filmed all of it. In December 2009, Domino's released what advertising historians now reference as the most audacious campaign a food company has ever executed. They ran television advertisements where real customers described their product using the same words the focus groups had used. They placed those complaints on a digital screen in Times Square, the single most observed place of public space on earth. Rival executives watched in disbelief. Marketing faculty at Harvard Business School incorporated the campaign into their curriculum within weeks of its launch. The campaign generated over 1 billion media impressions without a single dollar paid to public relations. First quarter 2010, same store sales jumped 14.3%. Within 12 months, the share price had risen 130%. Domino's displaced Pizza Hut as the world's largest pizza chain by revenue. The brand ranked last in taste surveys in 2008, was setting quality benchmarks by 2012. Now here is the chapter that does not exist in any other versions of the story. While the Honesty campaign was running publicly, Doyle was simultaneously dismantling Domino's internal structure and rebuilding it as a technology business. By 2015, over half of all Domino's orders were placed through digital channels. Domino's became the first food company to enable ordering through Amazon Alexa. You can currently order Domino's through a Samsung television, a Ford vehicle dashboard, and a smartwatch. In 2018, the technology publication Wired formally classified Domino's as a technology company that sells pizza rather than a pizza company that uses technology. At that point, their market capitalization exceeded the combined value of Ford and US Steel. A $15,000 investment in Domino's shares in early 2000 would be valued at over $1 million today, and none of it would exist without a CEO choosing honesty over the advice of every consultant in his building. So why did an act that looked like commercial self-destruction generate the fastest turnaround in fast food history? The answer sits inside a psychological phenomenon that researchers call the trust deficit. Every major corporation was issuing statements insisting that underlying fundamentals remained strong. Consumers had stopped processing that language. It had become acoustic wallpaper. Into that environment came a company that said, "We are also not fine, and here is the specific way in which we are not fine." Neuroscience research consistently demonstrates that humans extend greater trust to individuals who disclose failures than to those who project perfection. Domino's did not ask customers to believe their pizza was suddenly exceptional. They asked customers to believe the company was genuinely trying. Domino's succeeded because the cardboard crust was real and the rebuilt garlic butter crust was also real. Now the evidence, because the argument deserves numbers behind it. Domino's share price in 2008, $2.83. Domino's share price today, above $400, a multiplication of value that almost no corporate story in the modern era can match. Annual revenue expanded from $1.4 billion in 2008 to over $4.5 billion by 2022. Over 19,500 locations currently operating across 90 countries. That makes Domino's the single largest pizza operation on earth measured by location count. 3 million individual pizzas leave their kitchens every single day. In the United States, a Domino's delivery is completed every 2 seconds of every hour of every day. Their digital loyalty program counts over 30 million active members in the United States alone. Every dollar placed into Domino's stock at the start of 2010 has grown to approximately $40 today. That performance positioned Domino's among the 10 highest returning stocks of the entire decade. Analysts who recommended selling in 2009 when the confession campaign launched are not generally discussed at investment conferences today. Every figure in this section traces its origin to one executive deciding the transparency was more valuable than reputation management. So what does Domino's genuinely teach us? Beyond the surface level lesson about improving your product, the obvious takeaway is be honest with your customers. The takeaway is accurate and also almost entirely useless as stated. Every executive leadership team on earth already understands that honesty matters. The gap is that almost none of them will actually be honest. The actual lesson is this: customers already know when something is not good enough. They are waiting for the company to acknowledge it, and that acknowledgement is the only thing standing between frustration and forgiveness. Consider the brands you have quietly distanced yourself from, not because they failed dramatically, but because they kept pretending they had not failed at all. Domino's saw that erosion clearly, addressed it publicly, and constructed a $14 billion company on the foundation of their own admitted failure. Every week, Empire Vault finds the angle that exists underneath the story everyone thinks they already know. Because the version everyone knows is almost never the whole story, and the whole story is almost always more interesting. Subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos. Until then, goodbye.